Hi everybody, I'm Terry Stiles and welcome to Oxford News This Week. This week, the Village Council approved a negative budget and Oxford's own Bumpus contributes to early baseball. All that and more, the Oxford News begins right now. In a special meeting last week, the Village of Oxford Council approved the 2022-2023 budget with a $14,000 deficit due to both the Department of Public Works and the Village Police requesting to add a full-time position each. The budget did not include dispensary income, which would include a recurring $5,000 check, also license fees from the state payment to the budget per dispensary. The budget also included costs for water main replacements and consideration of wage raises. Council also suggested creating fundraising opportunities to help offset the cost of a new police car. Jim?
Thanks, Terry. Also part of that same meeting, ribbons request was a proposal to the council discussed in an email from an area resident asking to replace the blue and gold ribbons along the M24 corridor with new ones. The email included a poll showing support for replacing the ribbons, but no information regarding where the poll came from. And it was and the response. The council was mixed on the issue, its primary concern being what students want. Some council members spoke with the students before the meeting. The students did not provide a clear answer. Oxford Fire Chief Pete Schultz recommended not replacing the ribbons as they tend to get dirty and neglected, and mentioned the students and teachers he spoke with do not want ribbons back up. Oxford Public Library Director Brian Cloutier mentioned whatever the council chooses, that they should do different ribbons than the ones being displayed and not being misinterpreted for the events going on in the Ukraine. The council will revisit the ribbons in the fall. Stars of Hope. Terry.
The Village Council is also pursuing a $7,000 for County Community Foundation grant to install Stars of Hope art display at 15 North Washington. Stars of Hope USA is an art therapy organization that allows communities affected by tragedies to paint and display wooden stars in the community. The grant will cover building and installing a wooden frame for the stars, digitization to preserve the stars, and opening and closing ceremonies for the project. The project was originally going to use the Downtown Development Authority or the library as a fiduciary partner, but the DDA chose not to take part in the project, and Brian Cloutier, library director, decided not to pursue the grant for the library since he would be on the County Community Foundation committee awarding the grant. Jim?
The council accepted a bid of well over $600,000 from Waldorf and Sons Incorporated for the 2022 water main and street paving project. The project will upgrade water mains in the village in accordance with the Michigan's lead and copper pipe rules. The council submitted a request for a $2 million in federal funds to the office of U.S. Representative Alyssa Slotkin to help pay for the project. Slotkin is looking for the projects for the community project funding DDA vacancy, the DDA vacancy. The council appointed Angie Green of Evergreen's Coffee and Bake Shop to replace Justin Wilcox on the DDA board. Wilcox has resigned the board last meeting. To remind her that they finished Green, she will be reappointed at the end of Wilcox's tenure. I think we had two stories there. Once again, though, it was great that we were able to take the bid from the company, and we have a new DDA member as well. Trying to break that down. Terry.
since the start of the Russian invasion in the Ukraine in February. That was an increase in hostilities that began in 2014 on that annexation of Crimea and fighting in the Ukraine's Donbass region. People around the world have been watching and hoping to help however they can. And for Oxford community member Victor Kulish, I don't want to mess that up, the conflict hits closer to home. Kulish, owner of Harvester Coffee, Sweets and Eats, is helping Ukrainian refugees by fundraising Harvester Coffee, which is at 150 South Washington Street and is open from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m. Monday through Friday and from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. He is from the Ukraine and he's already helped two people, a young woman and her kids, get out and go to Poland, and then another, I think a single person, got out of the Ukraine and went to Germany. So he's doing some pretty good work. Jim?
Celebrating the special bond between moms and sons. I'm sure Terry can tell you about that. On Saturday evening, Great Lakes Kids Energy Zone hosted the Mother-Son Date Night. Oxford Township Parks and Rec organized it. Smiles abound, spirits were high, and the boys and moms played together and created some lasting memories. Terry?
Well, there's some fantastic news for Oxford Township from Oakland County Parks and Rec. The township was awarded a $100,000 grant for a long-planned farmers market at Seymour Lake Park. Last week, the Oakland County Board awarded the grant to help fund the construction of a 4,000 square foot open-air farmers market pavilion in the park. It will be built this year. The grant proposal was researched and written and submitted by CJ Carnacchio, who is the Township Communications and Grant Manager Director. The new farmer market will make fresh, nutritious, locally grown food more accessible to the community. It will promote and strengthen local farms and businesses by giving consumers a convenient, centralized place to purchase their products. It will foster a sense of community by providing a festive place to shop, socialize, and forge relationships. It will provide another outlet for distributing free, fresh produce harvested from the Oxford Community Garden, which is at the back of the park, for people to experience that are in need of food through the summer. Congratulations, CJ. Congratulations to the Oxford Township, and I'm excited. Jim?
I always like to be festive when I'm buying food. As an addendum to the story, Oxford Township Farmers Market Pavilion is expected to become a focal point in the community, a place for brimming with life, bustling, and activity, a place that represents the very best of Oxford to offer, and having fun as well. In addition to the grant, Power Panel of Oxford-based company located at 900 South Glaspie Street has graciously agreed to donate a we should have Dave say this thing actually, photovoltaic thermal, it's a PVD, okay? It's array for the project. I guess they need that, which is valued at well over $15,000. It actually uses sunlight to produce electricity and hot water. Power Panel's donation will provide electricity for the new Farmers Market Pavilion and existing universally accessing restrooms adjacent to the Kids Kingdom playground. The PVT, easy for me to say, array will also produce hot water for the restrooms. I think Dave Kenny should have had that. With that, though, Dave Kenny will be up with some more. I'll have sports, and Terry and I will be back to close it all out on a festive edition of this edition of Oxford News This Week. We'll be right back.
Welcome to Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and these stories are taken from Automotive News. In our first story, a high-performance version of Mercedes Flagship electric sedan will arrive in the U.S. in late spring. The 2022 Mercedes AMG EQS Sedan represents the first battery-electric AMG production model based on the luxury brand's EQ platform. It'll start at $148,550, including shipping. As the automaker targets lower emissions, Mercedes-Benz is taking a dual-prong approach to electrify the performance of the AMG sub-brand with plug-in hybrids and all-electric vehicles. The AMG EQS Sedan has an output of up to 649 horsepower and a boost function of 751 horsepower. It features variable all-wheel drive, continuously distributing drive torque between the front and rear axles, depending on the driving situation. The electric-specific system ensures a significantly faster response than a mechanical all-wheel drive system. Standard rear axle steering up to 9 degrees improves the sedan's handling. The non-AMG version of the EQS Sedan arrived stateside last year. Available in rear and all-wheel drive, the EQS delivers an EPA estimated driving range of up to 350 miles and a 0 to 60 mile per hour time of up to 4.1 seconds. Yikes! Like the EQS, the AMG variant cockpit features a 56-inch curved high-resolution hyperscreen that stretches from A pillar to A pillar and combines 3 screens, a 17.7-inch center display flanked by a pair of 12.3-inch screens. The AMG EQS Sedan is available in 2 trims for the U.S., Exclusive and Pinnacle. Customers receive complimentary 30-minute DC fast charging with the Electrify America network for the first 24 months. And on the recall front, Ford Motor Company is recalling 737,000 vehicles in the U.S. over a part that could develop an oil leak and a software error that could hinder braking. The automaker in April 1st said it's recalling over 345,000 of its 2020 to 2022 Ford Escape and 2021 to 2022 Ford Bronco sport vehicles with 1.5-liter engines because the engine oil separator housing could crack and develop an oil leak that could cause a fire. Ford said it had reports of at least 8 fires that may be related to the issue, but no related injuries or crashes. Dealers will inspect the oil separator for damage or oil leaks and replace the oil separator and seals as necessary. Ford is also recalling almost 392,000 2021 to 2022 F-150s, 2022 Ford Maverick Expedition, Lincoln Navigators, F-250s, F-350s, F-450s, and F-550 vehicles because a towed trailer equipped with an electric or electric over hydraulic system might not brake. Dealers will update the integrated trailer brake control module software. Ford has 67 reports of improper function potentially relating to the issue, but no reports of crashes or injuries related to the recall. And over at VW, Volkswagen Group will recall more than 100,000 plug-in hybrid vehicles globally due to the risk of a fire, a spokesman for the automaker said. VW brand will recall 42,300 Passat, Golf, and Tiguan and Arteon vehicles, while Audi will call back 24,400. The Seat and Skoda brands will also be affected. There is a risk of fire due to an insufficiently insulated high-voltage battery, the spokesman said on March 31st. Well, that's it for this edition of Auto Talk. I'm Dave Kenny, and we'll be right back.
Do you love local sports? Whether it's Oxford High School or Parks and Rec, you can buy copies of each game. To purchase your copy, call us at 248-628-9658. Or give us an email at manager@occtv.org, or talk to us at the next game. Hopefully we'll see you there.
Back with you on Oxford News this week. Sports. So yes, we're going to have some sports coming up. I want to say the future Northwood University Timberwolves soccer player, Captain Carly Boyd, primed and ready to lead the Wildcats to another successful season. Her leadership is ever present and giving nothing less than 100% in the 2022 season. She's this week's Oxford Athlete of the Week. The Oxford High School spring sports teams were introduced to the teams on Tuesday, March 22nd. That was held at the Ian Smith Gymnasium. Each of the 18 teams and nearly 300 athletes taking part in 9 sports over the spring season brought themselves to the Oxford community. The event had, addresses the Oxford Community School Superintendent Ken Weaver, and Oxford High School Athletic Director Tony DeMar. The Oxford High School Choir singing and national anthem were there, an impromptu standing ovation for the November 30th survivors, and the Oxford High School tennis player Kylie Osage, all in attendance as we introduced this year's spring team. So it was a well-attended event. Also, I'm not sure if you knew this, a bit of opening day trivia. Did you know that Oxford, once home of the Oxford, had a former Oxford Detroit Tiger pitcher, Elijah Albert Jones. His nickname was Bumpus. On the farm near Oakwood, that incorporated into a village and straddles the border of Oxford and Brandon Townships. On the January 27th, 1882, Bumpus was well known locally as a talented baseball player. Bumpus, a member of the Oxford High School class of 1900, pitched for the Detroit Tigers during the 1907 and 1909 seasons. In March of 1907, the Oxford Leader reported that Bumpus pitched his first spring game for Detroit. He struck out 4 men in 5 innings. It allowed 9 hits and gave up no walks. Bumpus made his major league debut on April 13th, 1907. Unfortunately, with the Cleveland Naps, they trounced the Tigers that day, 9-3. Bumpus went on and later signed a contract in 1909 in the 1909 season.
The Detroit News described it as a good move for the Tigers. The addition of one brings a lot more hope to the Tiger fans. The team that represents Detroit this year looks stronger to baseball managers and majority of players than any team that has ever represented the city in any league at any time. But with Bumpus Jones, it took a bit stronger. If Jones performs this year according to predictions made for him, he will prove as big an aid to the Detroit organization. Detroit News.
Ultimately, Bumpus appeared in a total of 6 major league games, all of them with the Tigers during his career. As a pitcher, he compiled a 1-2 record and a .415 ERA. Behind the plate, Bumpus had a career batting average of 125, got 1 hit in the 8 of bats, and scored on a run. He played his final major league game on April 24th, 1909. Bumpus never became a national star, but he had a legion of fiercely loyal fans around the hometown. The Leader referred to him as baseball's pride and joy. And folks, Bumpus returned to Oxford to visit in 1907, that April. The Leader reported,
The admiring fans gathered about him to hear from his own lips the story of his remarkable rise from amateur ball in Oxford to league ball in Detroit. Bumpus modestly disclaimed all credit and would not admit that he had a cinch on anything yet. And his head is not swelled a bit, murmured one of the fans he left as a boy. The same old Bumpus, unchanged in the least, even to his appetite for peanuts.
After leaving baseball, Bumpus opened the auto repair shop in Thomas, an unincorporated village tucked away in the northern part of Oxford Township, just east of M24, near the Lapeer-Oakland County line. There, Bumpus built a good business, according to the Oxford Leader. In October of 1925, it was reported that Bumpus, who became a local agent for Buick Cars, would open a sales and service station at 20 South Washington Street, the building that was constructed back in 1912 and 1913. He held a housewarming for his new business in November of 1925. Based on advertisements and articles published in the Leader, it appears Bumpus conducted business there through 1931. The operation advertised Bumpus Jones Motor Sales. After 1931, the dealership Bumpus, who had moved down to Ortonville, died suddenly on April 29, 1943 in Pontiac at the Fisher Body Plant. According to his obituary, this was the place of employment. Bumpus was 61 years old when he passed. He is now buried in the Oxford Township Cemetery on the north side of Burdick. The 2014 Bumpus, he was inducted to the Oxford High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Again, just a part of baseball that touched Oxford. That's Oxford Sports. We'll have more next week coming up. Terry and I will be closing out the news. You're watching Oxford News This Week.
Welcome to Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny, and this story is taken from New Scientist. Burning the nerves around kidneys could permanently lower blood pressure among people who don't respond well to medication. For decades, the kidney's nerves have been known to regulate blood pressure. So-called renal denervation involves inserting a catheter into the thigh's femoral artery to access the arteries that feed the kidneys. Applying radio wave pulses burns the nerves in the artery walls, reducing their activity. The technique has shown promise as a treatment for high blood pressure, but there is a lack of data on its safety and long-term efficacy. To find out more, Felix Mahfoud at Saarland University in Saarbrücken, Germany, and his colleagues looked at 80 people who had high blood pressure despite taking anti-hypertension drugs. 38 of the participants underwent renal denervation, and 42 had sham procedure, acting as a control group. At the start of the study, all the participants' systolic pressure, the force at which the heart pumps blood around the body, was between 150 millimeters of mercury, or mmHg, and 180 mmHg. Anything above 140 mmHg is generally considered high. The systolic pressure, the resistance to blood flow in the blood vessels, was at least 90 mmHg, the upper end of healthy reading. 3 years after the procedure, the renal denervation participants' systolic and diastolic blood pressure readings were 10 mmHg and 5.9 mmHg lower, respectively, than their sham group counterparts. Most of the participants continued to take blood pressure lowering drugs throughout the study. No safety issues were linked to renal denervation over the 3 years, and exactly how renal denervation works isn't well understood. Mahfoud and his team suggest the shock to the nervous system may reconfigure the body's blood vessels or affect hormone systems in the kidneys that control blood pressure. High blood pressure raises the risk of heart attacks and strokes, among other medical conditions. Speaking of the systolic reduction in particular, the team described the result as clinically meaningful and thought to be associated with lower rates of cardiovascular events. Not everyone is entirely convinced of renal denervation potential in the clinic, however. The numbers are quite small in this paper, but it did look as if renal denervation lowered blood pressure more than the sham control, says Tony Hegarty at the University of Manchester in the UK. Renal denervation will probably only be targeted at people who are resistant to medication, says Hegarty, because it's an expensive procedure and generic drug therapy is relatively cheap. Well, that's it for Science in the News. I'm Dave Kenny.
So that's it for the rest of this news. But I'm very excited about that farmer's market.
It's going to be right out the back door here at the studio, right?
Yeah, I'll never have to go up to my grocery store in town in the summertime.
Don't say that. I mean, you can still go by there, but what I'm saying is just if you need to get some food, boom, out the back door you go.
There it is, lunchtime.
But is it only going to be weekends or is it going to be during the week?
Oh, I don't think that they've just determined that yet.
Well, that one company that we were talking about is donating something to make the lights better.
Isn't that
I couldn't even say
fabulous?
the word. That was like a Science and the News word or something.
Yeah, that should have been Dave talking about that.
I was like, I saw that word and I'm like, uh-oh.
It's amazing what CJ is accomplishing. I have to say that
Great,
the community right now. He's also working on a grant. I think from
both
Fort
you and I
County
talked
Community
about that
Foundation.
grant 2 weeks in a row.
The smoke detector
which,
grant.
I mean, it's
but
good.
he's garnering support from the whole community, which is so impressive.
Right, I mean,
and then
we
to get
definitely
this
need
donation.
it. I mean, getting back together and trying to invest something positive and everything. Again, some thank yous out there real fast, and I know you got to tell everybody where we broadcast. I want to thank Dan Weiss in the back, who actually got called in on an emergency to help produce the program today. I want to thank Joe. I don't know what his last name is, but I know he edits the thing. What's Joe's last name?
Joe Hewitt, I'm sorry. Jim Hughes, Joe Hewitt.
He's not related to me. Okay. Well, anyway, some guy named Joe edits this thing, okay? And I have to hand it to him. He probably gets a lot of experience doing that.
Oh, he sure does, because we do mess up just every now and again. Not a lot.
Once in a while.
Anyways, and especially on a holiday week, which
this is
a holiday week.
Now, do you get Friday off?
This is a holiday week. Yep, we get Friday off.
Do you?
Yep, Good Friday.
I'm coming in to see if I have it off.
Okay, you
No,
do
anyway.
that.
I think anyway, we got some sports supposedly coming up, provided that it doesn't rain.
Yeah, finally.
I mean, it's going to be good.
Spring sports.
Becky's going to teach me how to do some baseball. I've never called baseball before.
Love baseball. That's my favorite.
I did baseball one time, Little League once, and I had the outs and the balls mixed up. And one of the mothers actually turned around, and I'm like, okay.
Ew, never mind.
So anyways, Becky Bannis is going to show me the way. I showed her how to
We
do
love
swimming.
Becky Bannis, our volunteer. We love our volunteers. Jim Hughes is a volunteer.
I am.
But Jim Hughes has also been at OCTV the longest out of all of us. How many years?
I was here before
I'm
it was-
23 years. I hit 23 years.
I have to go
and
by
you
the
were here
age
a
of my
long time
son,
before
who's
that.
32 now.
Okay, so
Wait, no, is he 31? 31
well,
and
first
a
you have to
half.
figure that out, and then you'll know how
On
long
next
you've been
week's
here.
newscast, we'll figure out how long I've been here, okay? I was
And
here
so-
before they even had a camera, okay? It was like, it was just a microphone and we talked into it, okay?
He wanted to be a radio guy. He still is. So anyhow, if you want to learn more about the stories that we told you about and others, you can go to our OCTV channel, Spectrum Charter Channel 191, AT&T Channel 99. You can also find us on Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, our website at occtv.org.
ATT.
You can also go to the Charter Township of Oxford Facebook page.
Oh,
We
wow.
get stories from there. And I know it's new, but it's still the Oxford Leader, new owners. You can go there. They've got the same reporters there. So I think that's it. Roku app. You can download the Roku app and find us on there. I did say AT&T
Did you say it?
Channel 99.
Oh,
Yep.
you did. I didn't hear you say it.
And so I think that's it for all of our programming. And if you want to get in touch with us to do any programming, give us a call at 248-628-9658. I think I said enough.
Okay, well, hope everybody has happy Easter. Hope you find your
Yeah.
eggs. And anyways, we'll see you on another edition of Oxford News this week whenever we show up. Have a good week and enjoy your holiday, everyone.
Bye-bye.